Okay, Deb, we're ready.
All right. At this time, we will be starting our regular Board of Education meeting for North Central School District. It is now 6:31. We will start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, God, indivisible. And call roll, please.
Lee,
Here.
Anthony,
Here.
Homer,
Here.
Tim,
Here.
Shane.
Here. At this time, the board will head to the auditoria to hand out certificates to the winter athletes. To view this portion of the meeting, you need to go to the athletic page on Facebook or to North Central Athletics. And then we will return back to this as soon as we complete that. Thank you.
Hey, Deb, we're done with that portion right now. I'm not sure if everybody's back in here yet.
Not everybody is back in here yet, Bill.
Okay. See, kids. Are we almost ready? Is everybody in?
Yes.
Okay. Deb, did you hear that? We're ready to go. Okay, I think Shane's in there. Okay. Greg. Okay, Homer, you're on mute. Deb, are we live yet?
Yes, we are,
Okay.
according to the screen.
Okay.
All right, at this time, does any board members have any questions or comments? I need to make 2 thank yous.
Homer, you're muted.
There we go.
You're unmuted. Yep, there you go.
All right, first of all, I'd like to thank the FFA for their appreciation cookie that I received a week or so ago. And I also received a little gift of thanks from a 5th grader named Desiree. And I wanted to publicly thank her for her appreciation. It says, Mr. Hendricks, this is for you for helping to make our school a better place and keeping us safe always. And I just wanted to thank her for her thoughts. And I appreciate that as well as the FFA.
Can I make
Anyone
a,
else have something?
can I make a comment real quick before any board member does? I wanted to let everybody know that today is a special day for one of our board members. It happens to be Homer Hendrick's birthday today, so I wanted to wish him a happy birthday from all of us. I'm not going to say how old he is. He can tell us that, but happy birthday, Homer. You're a great man.
Well, I'll just say it. I'm 65 today.
Well, happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
All right. Any other board members?
I just want to second kind of what you said, Homer, on thanking the FFA for those cookies. Those were very good. The pancake breakfast, I would highly recommend if they do that again next year. Board members get here and take in that. It was quite a sight in the auditorium. I'm sure Steve and some of the custodial staff enjoyed all those pancakes on the floor, but it was pretty entertaining seeing the kids trying to catch pancakes in there, and looked like it was enjoyed by all for sure. So, and that fifth grader, the thank yous they put out, I think we all received one, and yeah, that was a very good idea and very much appreciated. That's all I have.
Anyone else?
The fifth grade thank you that I received was from Lincoln, and he specifically stated he appreciated the updates to the playground, and they really appreciated that. So.
All right. Lee, got anything? Tim? All right, at this time.
Okay, I have a few items for board approval here on the agenda. Minutes from the February 16th regular meeting, our financial statements and investments from February. And item C, appropriation additions listed as follows there. In the general fund, capital outlay, $54,269.96. And then in other funds, we have student wellness and success, just over $94,000. Miscellaneous state grant, $38,792. Our ESSER funds, $5,489.92. Title I, $7,400.39. Title IIA, $149, and miscellaneous federal grant of $91.15. So the total for other funds was $145,933.92. Those are the three items that I would so ask for approval on. I did have a couple other quick things to mention. Our fiscal year 20 audit. Just got an email today from the state auditor that it's been finished up. He plans on stopping by tomorrow to get some signature pages signed and to come in and meet with Bill and I to go over the audit. But that should be finalized here in the next week or so. And then, of course, the state auditor's office, they release that out. And so when that's done, I'll let you guys know then next month. And I'll also get with the audit committee meeting just to have a quick audit committee meeting to go over our audit. And then the last thing, our ESSER, our ESSER2 funds that we received, the plan there is to use that to offset salaries and benefits for the most part. And I do know that Mr. Moore and Mr. Sainholtz are talking about some possibilities of some different curriculum and stuff also maybe down in the elementary that we may be using part of that for as well. So that is the plans for our ESSER2 funds. That is all I had to report on tonight, unless there was any specific questions from the board about any of the other reports or items that were in there.
Does anyone have a question for Mr. Paul?
Yeah, I'm going to ask a question, and I'm not on the audit committee, so I won't get the discussion. But what was the justification of the inappropriate recorded expenditures? I mean, what's their justification saying that we can't use this building's PI fund for stuff that was created from this building?
There, I asked specifically about that when I saw that in there, and it was in direct relation to the dirt pile that was created out here. And they said that the dirt pile was not part of the original project. And so they're having us take that out of our permanent improvement fund instead of our maintenance fund that was created for this building. So that's the explanation I got, that it wasn't, removing that dirt wasn't part of the original approved project. And so they said we couldn't use that maintenance fund for it. So
Interesting. Okay, thank you.
If there are no further questions,
I'll move.
I'll second.
Any further questions? Call roll for it.
Anthony,
Yes.
Homer,
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
Shane,
Yes.
Lee.
Yes.
Administrator report. Mr. Hannon.
Hi, everybody. How's it going tonight? It's always one of my favorite meetings when we get to invite kids back. It's so nice to see people come back into our board meeting and have all those parents. And I feel blessed when I see that, because kids are why we're here. You know, we want to do the things that are best for kids. So thanks for inviting them, Greg. Thanks for getting all the names and reading that. And so I just think it's important that we recognize our student athletes and we need to get other areas here too. I think we need to get the FFA here, and we need to get some other groups to recognize the great things that are going on at North Central. And so I'm going to make a conscious effort now that we are kind of sliding out of COVID, I'll call it. I've got 2 vaccines, so I think that makes me and no way to get COVID. Is that possible? I don't know. Anyways, I'm going to go over the numbers. As of Friday, March 12th, we were 601. We were at 629 on 3/30/2020 last year. We've got 75 kids in Nova classes. We're down 4. It was 79 last board meeting. We're down 2 of the biggest open and roll out at West Unity Hilltop. We're down from 31 to 29. So good news. I'm going to skip down to calamity days, and the last thing I'll come to is item number 2 is the levy update for May 4th. Calamity days, we missed, just so everybody understands, we missed 54 hours, and we're only allowed to miss 39 hours. So basically we're allowed to miss 6 days and 2 early releases. If you recall, we do an early release at Christmas, right before Christmas break, and we do one at the end of the school year. So we have to make up 15 hours. So we are now, and as of Monday, which was yesterday, we returned to regular dismissal time. Instead of getting out at 2:30, we're getting out at 2:50. We have 49 days since we started that till the end. So that's going to make up roughly, we're returning that. That's going to make up 16 hours and 20 minutes. So we will be over by an hour and 20 minutes. So that almost gives us a 2-hour delay in there. If we don't have any more calamity days for any reason, then we could make it all the way to the end and we've made up our time. If we do, then we potentially would have to go to school on that teacher work day, and then the teacher work day moves after Memorial Day. So just want to keep you updated on that. COVID-19, we've spent about a little over $110,000 on items dealing with COVID. I want to give you an update on COVID cases. Okay, as of the board meeting today, we've had 49 COVID cases as of March 16th. Now, keep in mind, as of February 16th, which was roughly a month ago, it is a month ago, we had 48 cases. So what does that tell you about the last month? January 21st, we had 42 cases. So we've gone from 42 to 48 to 49. December, we had 25. So our big jump was between December and January. So just kind of give you some perspective on our positive cases. Staff vaccine. If you recall, we had 58 signed up on February 12th. That was round one. And we had a remote day that day. 54 of those people were able to get it. There were some that couldn't get it for a variety of reasons, whether they turned them away at the site or they were sick or something like that. So 54 out of the 58 got it. Okay, we had 54 signed up for March 12th, which was just this past Friday. 51 got the second vaccine. So all the folks who have missed, I have gotten their name to the health department, either whether it's for the first shot or the second shot, made sure that they got their emails, and we're working with those people that want to get it so that they make sure that they can have both their shots. So that's kind of the update. So we have 51 people totally and completely vaccinated with both vaccines. So I think that's a good thing. Next thing on the item, I wanted to thank Pam Waters and Janet Powers. I'm not sure if you're familiar with those two, but they have generous donations of masks that they have made for our staff and our students. And so they come in and they just bring them in and donate them, and then we get them down to the different buildings. So we really appreciate the acts of kindness, all sorts of acts of kindness that happened around our district. That's just another example of people caring about people. The Northwestern Ohio Educational Service Center, we have a business advisory council, and we I gave you guys the report. You can look at it. We're as a group required to have a business advisory council meeting. It's run through the ESC. All the school districts in Northwestern Ohio are part of that. I can give you sort of the rundown of that, quick rundown of how that works, but I'll make sure I got it here. Here it is. We met, our last meeting was on March 9th. What we do on March 9th is we approve the minutes from the meeting before, which was December 8th. We also approved our joint statement, which talks about membership and our mission and vision and our meetings. We set all that stuff, so that's done. There are 23 districts that go to these, and it's always interesting to see the presentations from different businesses that come and present and talk about how they're integrating things with schools, with internships and opportunities. And so again, that's the update. You guys have a packet on that. Okay, Neola, I gave Homer, everybody's got a little update. We have just our first reading. There's a big folder sitting on Homer's table, and those are all the actual policy items that are being updated in Neola. So if you want to look at those, get that packet, or you got the summaries of all the different, it's volume 39, number 2. It's all the updates that we get 2, 3, 4 times a year. And I want to remind everybody of our regular board meeting will be Tuesday, April 20th, and it's going to start a little later at 7 p.m. to give people an opportunity to watch or get done with the games, the spring sports games. So keep in mind, April 20th, 7 p.m. Has anybody got any questions on any of that stuff or comments?
Bill, on like your student numbers, what's our incentive or plan going forward to draw these NOVA students back to in-person?
Our plan is we've got to get rid of masks, and we've got to get back to normal, and we've got to shed some of this stuff that we have in the school that makes people not comfortable with coming to school face to face. I think we're getting closer and closer to that. We did shed 4, but I'll be totally and completely honest with you. I don't know that everybody's ever going to come back. Some of them really like it. And so the ones that like it, I still think we need to offer those opportunities for them, because they're still our students. And I mean, it's just another choice in education today. I mean, think about what we're doing here at these board meetings. Would you ever imagine to be doing Zoom meetings and all this stuff? I think in some ways, COVID-19 has changed a lot of things the way we do business, and we're going to have to be open to all sorts of different ways for kids to get educated. And I think Marcia would be able to help me a little bit with that and her thoughts, but to get them back?
We sent
Well-
out letters. I'm sorry if I'm
Go ahead.
interrupting.
Yeah, go
Nope.
ahead.
We did send out letters, and students who were successful, meaning that they passed everything, will have the opportunity. But there are several students who just were not successful. It was not what they thought, or they just didn't do it, whatever. But they will not be allowed to go back on Nova. They will need to come back into the building. So it's an option if you were successful. And a lot of our kids really were, and I think Mr. Hannick's right. It is an option that's going to be even more and more, but I'm not comfortable with losing those kids who were not successful and letting them get any farther behind. I want them back in the building. So I don't know if that answers the whole question, but I think a lot of the kids will be back next year.
At least we're hoping, Anthony. We can't guarantee that all
Oh,
will
no.
be back, but we still want to
Correct.
give them the opportunity. And that brings me to kind of a note, is that Debbie Wyant, our online opportunities and suspension school teacher, she's been here for 12 years. So obviously North Central was on the cutting edge of doing something like this at the time that she was hired. And I want to wish her the best of luck in her retirement. She's been very helpful, and particularly through what we've been through, it was nice to have somebody that had so much experience with that and have been through the curriculum through the online part. Basically the idea wasn't to offer as many classes that we were per kid during COVID that we did, but that's what it turned into. Now, how we move forward on that and how we're going to have to rehire, so we're going to have to fill that position because it's pretty important. We
Right,
did
and-
learn, yeah, go ahead.
Another thing that's important to know about the NOVA program is that we are able to offer things through NOVA that I can't do here. And I've got that on my board report, but I just we also use some of the NOVA classes for credit recovery. So it's a pretty broad spectrum of things that we actually use NOVA for. It's not just online, stay home type thing. It's not that. It is that, but there's
Some of
more
that.
to it. There's more to it than that. And Deb has gone above and beyond. I cannot sing her praises enough. The way she can get the kids to do the work, the way she can modify things so that they are successful. We are going to miss her a lot.
We also learned that online learning isn't the best thing for first graders, second graders, third grade. We need them in the buildings. We need them with our staff. We need them in class every day. We need them face to face, whatever words that you want to use. It just doesn't work as well at that level. And going forward, we're not going to offer it down to that level. I mean, we just don't feel that that's a good education, and it puts way more burden on the parents than it does the kids because you spend so much time trying to teach it to them. So that's kind of where we're coming from. It's going to be more of a 4 through 12 or 5 through 12. However, Mr. Moore feels, I just know that I can't allow it to go down that low going forward. And we still need the suspension part of it. We're going to use that. And we're also going to use it for credit recovery. It becomes very handy for juniors and seniors, especially. And even now we can have other, depending on what the high school decides and the guidance counselors and the principal, what she approves, other people recover credits that maybe they wouldn't have been able to recover and keep them on, quote, on track to graduate. That's our goal, to get kids to graduate. And hopefully that we're able to keep kids in internships, because we've got some of that going on, and we've got some exciting things that Marcia's going to be talking about that's going on at the high school. So I won't spoil that for her. Has anybody got any other questions
I
concerning
just
that?
want to, so what's our goal? I mean, right now we still have 54. What was our past high school NOVA enrollment?
Well, actually, we have 79.
High school or
Oh,
junior,
you're
junior
talking-
high through high school,
junior
7
high.
through 12, we're at 54. Do we have a number, a goal? I mean, I think in-person learning is the absolute best, I think.
Yes.
And we obviously want all our kids here. So I'm just curious kind of what we're aiming for to get these kids back here and get them in person.
79 is too many. Anthony, I'll tell you that. Okay.
I agree.
That's my honest answer to you.
I didn't
30
think
is
so, I wouldn't
30
ask
at
the
times
question.
is too many. So we got to get it back down to a reasonable number of kids. Now, if they're on there for a class or two and they're in the building and they're taking one class, that's a little different.
Yeah.
But Marcia, I guess you could speak to that. Those numbers are way up compared to what they were.
Yes, they are. I think we had, I don't know if it was last year or the year before. Last year, things were so crazy. I'm not really sure, but something like 25, I'm going to say. Okay.
25 to
But
29.
that's not necessary.
Yeah.
Those weren't kids that were out all day. Those were just kids who were taking some classes through Nova. We have never up until this year had kids doing the whole thing, the whole school, every class outside of the school on Nova. So yeah, my goal is to get them all back, but I think realistically I will get most, but I will not get them all back. I've got some kids who are so successful that they are finishing up way ahead of time, because it is kind of a work at your own pace, and they're finishing up. They could graduate. They're not going to, but they actually have the credits and the grades that they could. They are very successful. Now, that's the minority, vast minority, but it's possible.
Okay. Anything else?
Not
Right.
on that, no.
I'm going to share my screen with everybody. I'm going to go through I want screen 3. Okay, let me know if you can see the screen and it has Let Us Rise as one on it. Does everybody see that? We all see that? Can you guys see it? All right.
Yes.
Okay, thanks. Okay, I want to move down. Okay, we have a tax levy, an additional tax levy on the ballot for May 4th. It's actually for 420,000. It's at 3.87 mils, and it would first come due in calendar year 2022. That's kind of what the issue will look like. It's going to be the only issue on the ballot. The only way it won't be is if the board decides that they don't want to do it and they do that tonight. Other than that, it's on the ballot. What are we going to use the money for? It's basically going into the general fund, and it's used for day-to-day operations, and all the things listed on this PowerPoint that's going to be put out on our website by tomorrow. Deb's going to put it out, but that's what we use it for. Transportation costs, utilities, technology, textbooks, consumable materials, salaries and benefits, contracted services, special ed's a big one. Mandated costs, including testing and inspections, and supplies, including custodial and maintenance. It's all that stuff. Stuff that makes the day-to-day operations of a school, anywhere you go, move forward. We've operated about 17 years without any new operating taxes. We've experienced rising costs due to inflation and healthcare premiums. Additionally, we've lost 9.4% in property tax revenues over the past 4 years due to property tax reimbursement being phased out. The district most recently lost over 244,000 total at the end of fiscal year 20 and now 21 due to state cuts. And I'll get to that in another slide, because that has been modified, and we have been pretty fortunate with what's happened from last March to this March. In 1 calendar year, things have changed here. And to be totally transparent with our public, everybody knows about all these rescue. There was 2 rescue plans in the Trump administration and now the Biden administration. Mr. Smeltzer referred to it as ESSER 1, ESSER 2. I think he referred to it as ESSER 2 and potentially ESSER 3. What is an emergency levy? You place it on the ballot. It's basically you want to make sure that you don't go into deficit spending. So that's what we've done. We've decided that we wanted to do the property tax. What have we done what has the board and the administration together do to control finances? That's a fair question. People ask, and we can tell them what we've done leading up to the 2021 school year. We reduced an athletic administrative director position, school resource officer position, mental health position, certified staff and special ed, Northwestern Ohio ESC, where we get some of our aides from, bus route consolidation and reduction of a full-time driver, cafeteria position reduction, 10% reductions in principals' budgets, no extra summer custodial help for cleaning, movement of staff members in areas. Basically, what we did from last year to this year is we cut out 224,000. I put that in blue to show that in the time since this happened, that's what we cut out. We're also looking, there are things we can do further than that, but they would be programs, transportation to state minimums, along with making athletics and some extracurricular activities, potentially moving to pay to play. Those are ideas, those are thoughts. They're not guaranteed, but what does transportation to state minimums mean? That means you don't transport high school kids and you don't transport anybody unless they're outside of the 2-mile distance of the school. Nobody gets transported. And then you have to do some transporting, like Fort County, for example. We have to take them from our building to Fort County. So they would have to get here and we'd have to transport them. Those are some examples of what state minimum busing is. Pay to participate is basically a model where there's a fee associated with any of the extra or co-curricular activities that you would participate in. We did receive one-time money this year, and let's be quite transparent and honest. The Bridgewater Township donation of $51,000 for COVID-19 relief was awesome. And we really got to thank them because, again, that's them helping us take care of a problem that we had, which was deficit spending at the end of last year of $92,000. So that's what we were working on. They knew it and they knew COVID hit, and so they helped. Madison Township then turns around and makes a donation of $28,000 for COVID-19 relief. Again, people helping people. And we really appreciate it, and it was well needed, and it's very helpful. And then we received our portion of the same funding. We got $35,000. We spent $110,000. So if we've been able to cut absorb that cost through that stuff. And then the Elementary and Secondary School Emergency Relief Act. Some are calling it stimulus. We all recognize it as something else. But as far as the school goes, we are round one of ESSER funds, which this is federal funding. This goes from the federal government to the state government, and then to the in this case, the schools. It goes to many different places. So we received $70,000 for the first round. ESSER 2 funds, and I'm rounding up, it was almost 70,000, 69 and something, and Mr. Smeltzer knows the exact numbers. ESSER 2 funds, it was almost 352,000. And that's what he was talking about earlier in his report, what we were doing with the ESSER 2 funds. We're using them to supplant salaries so that we save the general fund. That's the goal. ESSER 3, that's the latest. The first two were the Trump administration. The second one is the Biden administration, or the third one's the Biden administration, which is just currently coming out. I'm sure people have talked about in terms of personally what that means, but it also potentially has an effect for us, and we don't know what that is yet. Governor DeWine, because the revenues were up at the state, returned out of the 244,000, the 122 and the 122 for this year, fiscal year 21 or 20 and 21, he returned 66,000, or the state returned 66,000 of the 244. So, and then we got a grant from the Maumee Valley Planning Organization because of COVID and having to do online instruction and stuff, and we had to assign somebody new. We thought we would apply for a grant, and we got a grant for that. So we have a net gain of 551,000 for NC this year, and it's a one-time gain. But thankfully, the one-time gain will greatly assist us in staying positive. And, you know, the budget, you know, Mr. Smeltzer will officially do a budget later on this summer, and we'll know what those numbers are, but we don't know exactly what they're going to be yet. So I think that needs to be said to people so they understand that. Does that mean there's going to be no need for more funding? Absolutely not. It's one-time funding. We're doing what we think is smart as a board and administration, and we're offsetting the cost of things we already have. So just want to make that clear to everybody. I did put on here, this is our 5-year forecast. This you can find one of these for any school in the state of Ohio. And this is our forecast, and this is North Central local, and our submission date was 10/21 of 2020. You have columns here. These are actual numbers, actual budgets, which shows our deficit of 91,110, and then the forecasts, which are required by law, and we have to do them at least twice a year. And that is the forecast that we have out from 21, 22, 23. And you can see that it's all deficit spending. Unless we do something, and we've already made steps to try to help that for this year. And we'll know the final numbers at a later date. But I can't believe that it's going to be looking like this. So what I did was I decided to do a cash on hand, which Brandon, North Central, there's a cash on hand, and this will be available on our website. The CUP report, which is average daily membership, shows us with 604 students. So this is a report done off the website. I mean, anybody can get it. This is approved, any school. It's called a cash balance, and you can look down through here, and the same numbers are here. And it shows as you're going through your balance, it's going down, 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 down. And so just to give people perspective, and I'm not going to go through every one of these, but you can kind of look at where our cash balance is compared to how many students we have. And then you can go down, and I've put in Brian's cash on hand. Their submission date was 11/24, shows that. And they've got 1,994 students, and you can look at that. And you can look at Eden's cash on hand. These are schools in Williams County, and you can go down through there, and you can kind of look at where they are and where their cash on hand is. And then they have 511 students. And then you can look at Hilltop. And I put in Montpelier. And I put in Stryker. And you can look at any school in our county, and you can look at any school in the state. I put those in there for obviously because they're in our county. Why are we asking for this levy? Why are we not asking for it to be continuing? Because it's a 5-year emergency levy. We need the money in the short term, and I don't know what's going to happen in 5 years if we get this, but we've operated quite a few years without any new operating taxes. We see no change in the way the state continues to take away funding from school districts. We are funded. Half of the money that we survive on comes from the state of Ohio. And as it goes up and down, it really affects you when your state funding gets reduced. And then more of the burden goes to the local. That's just the way it works. I wish I could change that, but I can't. So we can only deal with what we can deal with. And so we're going to do our part, and hopefully everybody else does their part. These are school district income tax and property rates. This is Williams County versus North Central. This levy will cost roughly $12 a month for this example. And North Central current, where we stand in taxes compared to everybody else, where we would be if we pass the levy is in red. So then you can look at what it would cost. And this example, what it basically does is it says, Joe Smith, $106,000 value of the house and an earned income of taxable income of $62,202. That's who we're looking at, that person. That's what we're basing all this formula and comparisons on, as if you were to take your place and move it into any of those other places. So that's in Williams County. You can go anywhere in there. So if it was Eden or West Unity or Edgerton or Central Local comes down into Williams County a little bit. So we typically think of them as Defiance County, but they're listed with Williams County, Montpelier, Bryan, and Stryker. That's what the cost would be. Now, every other school district on top of the property tax, they have an income tax, and that's listed here. We don't. So that makes a difference. And I put some other counties in here, and I'm not going to go through the counties like this, but I'm just going to say that if once this gets out on the website and people want to look at it, they can look at what Defiance County versus North Central would look like. If we did the same thing, we moved our operation over into Defiance, same numbers, and this would be Northeastern local, this would be North Central, this would be North Central with a levy passed, and then everybody else in Defiance County, including Central local, is all listed here, and you can see that the difference in the schools that have an income tax and don't have an income. I mean, that's if you look at the graph. And so then there's one of those, and it just reminds you that it's $12 a month for that type of sample. This is Fulton County. So you got Williams, Defiance, you got a comparison of Fulton, and we're always going to be what I would call pink and red. I mean, maybe that's not pink. I'm not sure what color that is, but it looks pink to me. And then this is what it would be if we were in Henry County. And this is what it would be if we were in Lucas County. And this is what it would be if we were in Paulding County. And then this is an example of my own personal property sample out of the from the auditor's website, and it will show you your taxable value. And Mr. Smeltzer has an example later in here, and you can figure out what it would cost. It would be about $14.17 a month for this example. So if it's on that number that we use for the 106, or if it's worth more than that, then it goes up a little bit. If it's worth less than that, it goes down. These are the income tax in calendar year 2020. All this is just Williams County, and you can see where North Central is. Just shows all the schools. This is a school district tax comparison of your total tax bill, looking at it a different way. We saw graphs. Now this is just on a chart. This is how to calculate, and Mr. Smeltzer uses a $100,000 example, and he compares us to West Unity, given the same, trying to compare apples to apples, and the total tax bill comes down at the bottom. And this is the way you would figure your own. You'd have to do this. And he tells what the calculations are based on those assumptions right there. 10% reduction in non-commercial properties, 2.5% reduction in owner occupied properties on qualifying levies using a percentage of 87.5. And then voted millage is what the district passed at the original ballot issue. What we're actually collecting is called our effective. As values go up, millage goes down. That's just how it works. So you might pass millage, and you might have been 3.92 in November, and in May it's going to be 3.87. That just reflects that valuations are going up. And there's kind of the breakdown of North Central, total millage breakdown. And then the effective millage is on the right, which means general fund is 55.8, but the effective millage breakdown is 27.4, and so on. If the levy fails again in May of 2021, we're going to have to take a look at it as a school community. We are trying to avoid a point where we have to begin to dismantle some of our very programs that have been beneficial to our students. That is our goal. We don't want to dismantle things that we really find valuable. If you have specific questions, Mr. Smeltzer or myself, our board members are very open to listen. So it's just a matter of asking. North Central provides an outstanding education for our children. Remember to vote on May 4th. There's our Board of Education, which I need to get this picture updated. We got a new one tonight, so I will do that. There's just some pictures of things going on in our schools. We've got some testimonials. I don't know if anybody knows Chase Boothman, but he sent a comment, which I thought was really nice. An event from North Central that I still think about to this day would probably be when the 2019 golf team won the Defiance Invitational for the first time ever. On that day, there were over 20 teams competing in the tournament, with plenty of Division II and Division I high schools. In the midst of all the schools, the small Division III North Central stunned the bigger schools and took home first place trophy that day. These are just things that people remember because they were associated with North Central local schools. Pride. Skylar. Mrs. Hills was the person who allowed me to access a lifestyle that allowed me to have better connection with my emotions, realizing complex situations and deep thought, not to look at things so black and white and study the gray area. She also taught me how to look into detail with everything and really affected my viewpoint on music. And that's what my biggest influence is in my life. Now imagine that. That's our students. Aaliyah, for me personally, I would like to say the school has impacted me a lot. I remember being in high school and I'd always hear, I can't wait to get out of here and move on to something else. But I could. I love high school. Even to this day, I would say my best memories were at school. I grew in my faith. I learned what love was. My future was set up there. I had teachers that have become friends, mentors, and I have the most amazing lifelong friends, all thanks to North Central. Don't always hear that. Another thing I'd like to point out, a quick fact about some North Central employees, because I can't say all, but we have 29 former North Central graduates employed here. Okay, and what I would say to that is they've come back. They're proud graduates of here. We also have 3 board members that are North Central graduates, and I'll point that out by name: Anthony Burnett, Homer Hendricks, and Shane Martin. Another reason why we are NC strong and NC proud. And I'm not afraid to say that. It's just a fact. And then, of course, that's a copy of that. And that's really all I have. And I want to make sure that gets out there. And if anybody's got any questions, I'm going to unshare my screen. And other than that, I don't have anything unless somebody's got a question, but I really appreciate you listening.
Yeah, I want to touch, your North Central grads that are employed here, 29, just to put it in perspective. That's a pretty good number. I mean, basically a third of our staff is
Yep.
North Central graduates.
Yes.
So yeah, I think that's a huge number, and that's good to see. Another note, I kind of had a question, a little brainstorming thought. Read your business advisory council notes, kind of went through that. And I didn't know if it's something we could look at as a district, maybe smaller scale. We have a lot of industry in our district. I don't know, once a year we could do like a lunch invites with our industry companies, maybe have a person from each come. Rob could make lunch. We could have a meeting, just kind of talk to them, present what's going on here.
That's exactly the goal of the Business Advisory Council. They want to give us ideas.
I
do
understand
stuff.
that, but it's
Yeah, that's what I'm
BSC.
no, I'm
That's
saying
a
you're
4-county area.
Yes.
We want it
No.
right here at home.
right. I'm
I
saying
mean, we're very
supposed
fortunate.
to take this information and do it locally. Exactly what you're saying is what we need to do. That's exactly right. Yes,
I think we
that's
need
what
to
I'm
take
pointing
this as a
out.
model, and I mean,
Yes.
we're loaded with industry, and
Yes.
send out an invite once a year and have the board in here, and hopefully maybe have a representative from each different industry and get a little more buy-in, or where we can maybe get some relationships with them.
Maybe we can even put
Do
some
some-
kind of a committee together that would take some of the advice from the
I think
businesses
we
locally.
could-
That would help us, and it would.
Yeah.
I mean, I think maybe that's something that the board would consider.
I think we should look into it. We could, establish some relationships. It might create some internships. It might create some extra investments into the school with some computer technology, or with some, I don't know, smaller machinery that some of our companies in our district use. Just kind of getting a head start with our kids and preparing them for getting out in the work world and have a possible career with one of them. I just think it'd be a good thing for us to establish, and maybe think about, like you said, creating a committee and doing something like that.
It can be like a board committee that maybe helps advise the board, and through that we get internships, we get, you know, externships, we get, you know, some trading of ideas. Maybe they let us know some of the things that they'd like us to see what we could offer to some of our kids hands-on. I know Marsh is going to get into this a little bit on her report, because that's exactly where we're heading at the high school. That's kind of what we want to do. Robotics would be another thing. These are all great ideas and things that we need to start moving forward on.
I totally support Anthony on this. We definitely need to have some communication to hopefully help us maybe adjust our curriculum. Anyone else? Anything? If there's nothing else, we'll go on to Mr. Moore.
Okay, good evening, everyone. Hopefully everybody can hear me okay. Looks like my screen's froze up here a little bit with my picture, but just a couple things here from the elementary building. First of all, state testing will begin here in about a month. The state testing process lasts about a month, and we'll finish up, begin mid-April, end mid-May. We have a schedule in place. We got to fine tune a few things with regards to the schedule with the teachers and myself and Mrs. Renfer. But once that's complete, be ready to roll in mid-April with student testing, and that's grades 3rd through 6th grade. We are scheduling students, families for kindergarten screening. The screening process will take place Wednesday, the 12th of May, and also Thursday, the 13th. A full day on the 12th, half day on the 13th. Mrs. Page informed me we got about 25 or so signed up right now. I've had quite a few phone calls, also quite a few phone calls for preschool as well. So we're looking at the 12th and 13th for kindergarten screening. DARE is back. Deputy Miller has been in the building working with our 5th graders about 3-4 weeks now. He'll go another 3-4 weeks, but very good program. DARE's been back in schools about the last 5-6 years. They go to all the county schools, and Deputy Miller, Kyle Miller, does a great job. And for me, it boils down to just he shares with real life experiences that are going on there in the county as you get teenage years, junior high years, high school years. It just boils down to just making smart choices and good choices from his perspective. So I know the students enjoy it. The teachers enjoy it down in the 5th grade when Deputy Miller comes in. Quiz Bowl Challenge. We did not have Quiz Bowl for our elementary students back mid-October. So Miss Blue and I were talking to recognize our Quiz Bowl students, to just kind of do something for them and with the other students. So what we do is, and tomorrow 5th grade gets a question, but I read a Quiz Bowl Challenge question to each grade, 1st through 6th, and tomorrow the 5th grade's up. And so they need to answer the question. I read over the PA, and also I have a teacher challenge question that I read over the PA. So it's a fun little activity. And then I go down to the classroom, talk about Quiz Bowl a little bit. One of the Quiz Bowl members will accompany me. So it's just something to give back to the Quiz Bowl team, recognize them since we weren't able to have it this year. Hopefully you're able to see the Bryan Times, a few of you today. We did make the paper there on the front page with regards to Jeremy Adams, Airman Adams. He's a sergeant in the Air Force. But just to make a long story short, since COVID canceled Veterans Day back in November, I asked the teachers, I go, please reach out, do something for our community, do something for our veterans, past, present. So talking to Mrs. Beck, all the teachers had great ideas from videos and so on and so forth. But Mrs. Beck said, hey, I want to reach out to Jeremy Adams, Garrett's father. Garrett's in her classroom. Kind of sent him a package of information, letters from her students, cards, that type of thing. So she went ahead and did that. And Sergeant Adams reached out to me about a month ago when he got back from the Middle East, Qatar area. And he said, Mr. Moore, man, that meant a lot to me. That was very, very nice of the students and Mrs. Beck's class. And, I shared those letters with the people I work with and serve with over there in the Middle East. So I said, yeah, great. Nope. Obviously no problem. We love doing it. And I'm glad the kids reached out to you. So I said, I'd really like you to come and talk to the students. And he said, I've got a flag I'd like to present to the students in the district on behalf of those letters. He can sponsor schools and communities. So he sponsored Mrs. Beck's class in the North Central School. And actually there's a flag that was in some of the aircrafts and flown over there on missions and sponsored to our district. So he came in yesterday and shared that with Mrs. Beck's class. And that's where Lynn Thompson from the Bryan Times was in and got some pictures and whatnot, wrote up a nice little article. So I thought that was just great. He wanted to come back and talk to the kids. And I thought it was a great idea with the second graders. They were excited about it. Mrs. Beck added a little lesson in that before Jeremy came in and afterwards, so on and so forth. So it was a nice little, all in all, a nice little program and assembly for our second graders. A couple other things that I just want to touch on that maybe the board or community is not fully aware of, just the day-to-day things that we do to support each other and support our students. But RTI process is called, it's a response to intervention. And basically teachers, if they feel though a student's struggling a little bit, maybe not working at grade level, and not only a teacher, but a parent as well can bring things to our attention, concerns. And we get together as a team, the teaching staff, administrative team, and also the parents, and we work on strategies to boost those kids back up and get them closer to grade level. And it's a process. We meet 2 or 3 times throughout the year. It's usually about a 4 to 6 week progress of intervention strategies we put in place. We monitor those things, and then we come back together and talk about those things and put maybe additional goals in place, or maybe we have to, again, begin the conversation for special education. So that's the RTI process in the elementary building. And again, the thing that I like about it, just communication. It's great to sit down and try and move kids forward and get at their level. Also, English as a second language. Mrs. Cochran does a wonderful job with our Spanish-speaking students, and not only just the day-to-day help and instruction, but it's the supports that she gives the families. Assemblies that we have, Mrs. Cochran's in the stands, meeting with those families, IEP meetings, kindergarten screening and assessments. If there's letters that teachers may have that may need retyped into Spanish and that type of thing. So she does a wonderful job, and the supports to our Spanish speaking students and families is wonderful that Linda gives. Our backpack program, Mrs. Renfer started this a few years ago, and 6th grade girls help. But we reach out to needy families in the community that need some extra support. So she has backpacks full of food. Every couple of weeks, she'll get some of the 6th grade girls around. They'll pack those up, and she gets them sent home to needy families here in the community, which I think is wonderful. Technology as a whole this year, it's been much different, but I don't think it's going anywhere. Mr. Hannock touched on that, but our teachers have done a wonderful job since day one, embracing technology, and also our students, the creative things that they do each and every day. Can we get back to some old style, teaching maybe next year? Yeah, but I don't think the technology piece is leaving. And today I went down to Mrs. Beauregard's, and Mr. Wadley came down and did some computer programming with our 6th graders. He's a high school teacher, but they were so excited, so engaged, so involved. I hung around, and the kids were showing me things that he showed them. So it was nice that, excuse me, Greg and Angie got together and put a little lesson together for our 6th graders. Our Eagle Way assembly, we're still having our awards assemblies this year, even with COVID. I think it was so important that we recognize our kids and say thank you. The Eagle Way is basically saying, for you to be that outstanding Eagle, this is the way that you have to act. This is the way we have to treat each other, our teachers and our staff. And it's something we recognize 4th through 6th. Each teacher recognizes each quarter an Eagle Way student. And I just think they're wonderful. The teachers speak from the heart. And some with preschool I want to touch on. Last year, we started a second. Well, actually, we have 3 preschool units, 2 with Mrs. Masters and 1 with Mrs. Fellers. And that 3rd unit, let's just say a preschool, brought in about 15, 16 students. So 15, 16 students in the community that need that support. Preschool can start at age 3 in the state of Ohio. So we had 16 students in getting those extra supports, even at that level with regards to letter recognition, sound recognition, those types of things. This year, our preschool numbers are down a little bit, talking to families on the phone, just a little hesitant with, with COVID, masks, no masks, so on and so forth. But I believe they'll bounce back next year. Again, I spoke to a number of families over the last week and a half. They're beginning to think about school. They're beginning to think about preschool, that type of thing. And finally, I just want to mention our community reading and tutoring program that Mrs. Lashaway is the lead on. In the mornings, we have a number of community members, at least probably 2 a day, sometimes 3, but they just help our students with reading, especially in the lower level in the elementary, but also not only reading, but tutoring. So it's nice to have those community members, parents, grandparents come in and just sit down with our first graders, second graders, third graders, and put some plans in place just to give those extra supports where needed. And Angie does a great job organizing that for us. So that's what I have. Any questions for me on the elementary side?
Anyone?
Andy, is there any, what's in the works for like field day? Planning on having anything or?
Yeah, I want to. Hutch and I have been talking, and he's been bouncing some ideas off the 6th grade as well. And Hutch does a great job. It's a big field day. I mean, we're in the gym, outside by the ball fields. We're down by the track. There's 30 stations. I don't know if we're going to have all those stations, but we definitely want to do something for a field day. He's got targeted, I think maybe the 7th or 8th. I don't know what day that is, and maybe around the 13th, 14th. So he's got a couple field days lined up for the students to get outside. And it might be the old school stuff that maybe Tim and I did at school, maybe the relay races and stuff. But, we definitely want to do something for the kiddos to get them outside on sometime there, mid part of May.
All righty. And then I know Marcia's going to talk about it, but at the elementary level, any talks about the kids putting on a little music program, or, I mean, being they haven't had anything all year?
Yeah, Krista and I talked about that. It's been a couple of weeks ago, but she's mentioned at the end of the year, again, May timeframe. We always, traditionally, it's still last May, but we'd like to have something to showcase our students' musical, things. And she's done a great job. She's very creative. The singing's been, out or limited, obviously, this year. But no, we talked about that. I'll have to follow up with her. We did speak about it there about 3 weeks ago or so. But yeah, it was on the radar to maybe put something out there to, whether it be an outdoor program down by the football field or potentially in the gym. But yeah, we've been talking or kicking that around.
Good. Thank you.
Yep.
Anyone else? Anything else?
Ready?
Yes, Marcia, go ahead.
Yeah, you're up,
Okay.
Marcia. Yep.
Okay, sorry, I couldn't hear if I, whatever. Couple of really neat updates. We are having a prom and the kids are excited about it. I've been talking to them quite a bit about what's going on and what we're going to do. So we are having a prom. It's April the 24th. Few details. I just got another email today from Teresa Worley, who's one of the parents working on it. I think they're going to have a blast, and I think we're going to be able to do things not exactly like before, but very close. We just got some new guidance from the governor and from the health department. So I think we're good to go. I am working on next year's schedule. I'm running into some bumps, but that's okay. That's the way it always is. So I am working on that, trying to get it worked out. March 15th, which was yesterday, when I wrote this like 2 weeks ago, we started dismissing at 2:50. Now in the junior high and high school, when we started dismissing at 2:30, I simply, because of I didn't have a lot of lead in time. So we just ended the day. Well, now those minutes are hooked back on to either 7th or 8th period, depending on the day, but the end of the day, and it's working out well. the kids now, like for instance, the 7th grade, who go to specials during that 7th period. So they go half this period and they'll go to band half of the period. And then they went to, I don't know, art or something different half the period. Well, now they've got a longer time and they're loving it. So I think that this is the way it should be. And I hope it stays this way. Upcoming events. As Andy was talking about a little bit about, or Anthony asked about the music, we are going to have live concerts, vocal and instrumental. When I say limited audience, what we decided to do was kind of split instruments on one day, vocal on another day, and then even more so split up the bands. Like high school will be at this time, and then those parents might leave or some might stay, and then junior high, et cetera. So it's going to, limited meaning the parents of the people who are there. And we're going to try the auditoria. We're going to spread out. We're going to do as much as we can to give the kids the chance. Those are performance classes and they haven't been able to perform at all. So we are going to have them perform for their parents and for the rest of us. I'm really excited about that. I've been working with Jeff, Mr. Halutke, trying to work that out. Graduation, May 30th. As you can see on my thing, I have been meeting with the senior class officers and we've got some good ideas. Kids want traditional. They want it in the gym. They've given me all kinds of ideas of how to set it up so that we can have maximum number of people in the gym, on the floor, in groups, or whatever you want to say. They are excited. I'm excited. They even talked about, well, are we going to have to wear masks? And I said, well, as of today, yes. I don't know what's going to happen, but I said, yeah. They said, well, let's get matching going so that they all look really cool, you know, with the black with the black gowns and the white with the white gowns. So, okay, that's what we're doing. The kids are excited about that, though. March 29th, spring break. And on my report, I put testing beginning in March. That was wrong. It begins in April after spring break. As a matter of fact, we're not going to even start the week we get back from spring break. That gives the teachers a chance to do a little review. We're going to start it the next week after that. Talking a little bit about the band and the choir. When I came here, the choir had 9 students and it dropped to 7 right away. Well, for next year, we've got 20 kids signed up for choir, for the high school choir. Really excited about it. Band is also growing. It's not growing as rapidly, but the elementary, the 6th grade and the junior high bands are growing, so that by the time they get in high school, the band is growing a little bit more slowly. I don't know if all of you knew it, but we had, Mrs. Luthi and I had applied for this pilot program through ODE called, well, there are 2 classes now. We got into the 2nd group, but the first one we did was math modeling and reasoning. We taught that last year and this year. It's a fun class for the kids. It's almost entirely hands-on, doing things in groups, not just sitting there solving problems. That's why they call it math modeling and reasoning. Well, then a new class is just getting started next year, and we got the approval for that pilot also. It's called Data Science Foundations. Mrs. Luthi is just really excited about it. And I think I have 17 kids signed up for that class. So it's good. It's going to be a really good class. You were talking a little bit about Greg going down to the computer, down to the 6th grade, doing some computer programming. This year, I only had 3 kids. Next year is going up to 8. So it's almost tripled, which is great for an elective. I'm very excited about it. Our floral design class that we just started this year is so popular and so well received by not only the students, but by the community, that we've added a floral design 2 class, a more advanced class. You were talking earlier about internships. I have a student right now doing an internship at Pioneer Industrial Systems. She goes 3 times a week, I think. That varies a little bit. It's Cassidy Failer, and she's kind of looking at the engineering. I think I'm not sure that's where she wants to end up, as in engineering, but it was great to get her out there to see what they do, to see what kinds of things that she would be involved in if she did go into engineering. I also have some students out with the FFA doing some internships through the FFA. So we do have kids out in the community doing things. That's one of my goals. I have 8 students right now on work release, which means they come to school for part of the day, they go to work, and depending on the number of hours that they work per week, they can get school credit for that if they turn in their salary, turn in their pay slip, and do a little bit of paperwork on this. But they can get credit. We call it work release. There's other names for it, but whatever. It's the idea that the kids are going to work. I think right now I have 2 working at, well, it's John Deere and Archbold. That's not what the name of it is anymore, but that's what they're doing is starting work there. And they're so excited about it. I am too, because I think it's a good experience for the kids. We talked a little bit, and I'll just touch on it real briefly, but the NOVA program, I'm able through that. Yeah, we do credit recovery, and I've got kids on it full time. But the purpose of it is to offer some classes that I can't do here. Just as an example, we've got kids in sign language 1 and 2. There's no way I could teach that here. I don't have a teacher for it. Those kinds of things, sociology, psychology. There's a Holocaust class. There are some classes that I just cannot do here. One person wants them. I can't do it, but I can offer it to these kids through the NOVA program, and they are being successful with it. So those are just some of the, I think, exciting things that we are doing here in the high school. Change is slow. I'm not going to deny that, but we've got some really, really good things going on academically for these kids. Not all go to college. So I've got some really good work release types of things for these kids to do also. And that's all I have.
Questions from Mrs. Rosenberg? None? All right, let's go on to Mr. Wadlick.
All right, so high school basketball finished since the last meeting. So boys basketball finished, they won one of their tournament games and they made it to sectional finals, and they finished with a record of 7-17. The girls made it to district semifinals, and they finished with a record of 12-11. And that is significant because that is the first winning record the girls program has had since 1992-93, I think, from looking through our historical records. So that was a pretty big accomplishment by that group of girls to do that. Moving on to spring sports, we have, for high school baseball and high school softball, we have varsity and JV teams because we have so many kids involved in each of those. We have close to 20 for each of those, which is awesome. So we're going to be able to play varsity and JV games for both of those sports. And then also with both baseball and softball, we have junior high teams, which aren't through the school. It's not an OHSA sport, junior high baseball and softball, but we have some community members who are willing to help coach those, and they've been getting in and working with those kids and kind of doing their spring sports season. So the head coaches have done a good job of working with them and with Parks and Rec and getting that all around. Baseball's first game will be March 27th. Softball starts on March 29th. And then for high school track, their first meet will be April 1st. And then junior high track, their first meet is April 5th. So we will be starting these in the near future and hoping for good weather for all that stuff outside.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for Mr. Wadlick?
I just want to real quick on the athletics and the winter sports. I just want to say great job to our athletes, coaches, and spectators. I know it wasn't easy with the masks, the social distancing. I think we done a great job here. Seen some other schools, did not really. I just want to extend a huge thanks to everybody here. I think everybody cooperated well, and it's didn't go unappreciated for sure. Says a lot about NC.
Yeah, and that being said, we did get evaluated for one of our home events, and our report came back with basically nothing on it other than adding some signage around our concessions. So that was just a great job by us with spectators following the rules and us just having a plan in place that met what we were supposed to do from the state. And yet, when you went around to other places, you wondered how they were getting away with what they were doing. But I think it was good, and especially by coaches being good examples to kids, and our spectators being good examples to the kids of being respectful to the rules, even if we got frustrated at times. But I think everyone did a really good job of being respectful and representing our community well at both home and away events.
Another
Yep,
thing
I agree.
I found something amazing, that we played more games than anybody else in our league. Like, we got more games in than any other teams. We played 22 games with the boys, and plus they played in the tournament for 2 games. If you look down that and you look at the girls, 12 and 11, we got in more games than the other schools somehow. Through COVID, playing with less than, all the kids, we still played games even though we didn't have all of them. And so I think that's a credit to our kids, our parents, and our athletic director for getting the games rescheduled, and our coaches wanting to get the games rescheduled. Because I'll be honest with you, some teams didn't want to reschedule games, certain teams that they were playing. It didn't matter to us. We just wanted to play the games. And you can look at that 2 ways, I guess, but just wanted to point that out.
Very true. Anything else from Mr. Wadlick? All right, then let's go on to, I have a recommendation from the superintendent. Students that completing their district requirements to graduate early with the class of 2021. I need a resolution to approve the following students for early high school graduation with the class of 2021. First is Wyatt Altaffer, and second is Mackenzie Van Dyke. Do I hear a motion?
I'll move.
I have a motion by Anthony. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Lee. Any questions or comments? Call roll, please.
Homer,
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
Shane,
Yes.
Lee,
Yes.
Anthony.
Yes.
Next, we have a resolution to approve the purchase of a 30-passenger G5 Chevrolet Microbird, package 1, which seats and with 3-point seat belts in several of the seats. This is from Cardinal Bus Sales and Service. The purchase price is $60,945. This will include Wi-Fi installation and programming, and we will be using $41,000 of wellness funds towards this purchase. Do I have a motion?
I'll move.
I have a motion by Anthony. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Tim. Any questions, comments?
What's the primary use of this bus going to be for? Being 30 passenger.
The primary use, I'm going to use it for preschool. We do not have aides on our bus at this time, and I want to somehow see if it's going to be efficient to have students at that age where we know where they're at. They're not up out running around and stuff. And then for some of our smaller events, it'll be a good use for that. That's going to be the primary use.
Alright. Are all the seats then equipped with these seat belts or just a certain
Yeah.
number?
Nope, the whole preschool bus is equipped with 3-point seat belts.
Alrighty. The Wi-Fi setup, is that cost for every bus we own? I see.
Now, Wi-Fi setup that we're doing is we're putting antennas on them.
Mhm.
So them buses roll back into our yards. Every one of our buses have a camera system on them. There's at least 3 cameras in every bus. Most of them are 4 camera systems. And then we have stop arm cameras. What this Wi-Fi is going to do is basically what we're going to do is put antennas on every one of our buses. That way, when they pull back into the parking lot, the administration can pull up the website and we can download all that information. So if a principal or even a guidance counselor or myself, if there's an issue on a bus, we don't have to go out and pull hard drives. Because right now, I'm the only one that can pull hard drive. So it's going to be more of a check. It ain't going to be total Wi-Fi for the school buses for students to use.
But
Is
the $2,400, that's for equipping all our school buses, not just this new bus.
Oh, that's all our school buses.
Okay. I didn't quite understand that part, but thank you. Any other questions? Call roll, please, Mr. Smelter.
Tim,
Yes.
Shane,
Yes.
Lee,
Yes.
Anthony,
Yes.
Homer.
Yes. Next is the consent agenda. We have employees pending records. Aubrey Rediger for junior high track coach shared. Brooks Schofield for junior high track coach shared. Colton Fillmore, volunteer baseball coach. We also have a resignation from Debbie Wyatt for the virtual academy for purposes of retirement. Then they also are going to rescind the contract for Aubrey Redinger for junior high track. I'm assuming she decided to do something else. We also have
Oh, she's going to split the contract instead of having the whole thing. She's going to share it. Yeah, that's what we're doing.
Shared.
She had the
Well,
whole
it said
thing.
shared on both of them.
Yes.
Oh, before we'd already hired her?
Yes. Yes. That's what. Sorry about
Okay.
that, Homer. I should have explained that to you. That's my fault.
All right, that was my bad, so thanks for the clarification. We also have the agreement to be made by North Central Board of Education and the Northwest Ohio Educational Service Center Governing Board for services for the 21-22 school year. And finally, the teacher and paraprofessional substitute list dated February 25th, 2021 from the Northwest Ohio Educational Service Center needs to be approved. Do I have a motion?
I'll move.
Who was that?
Tim.
Tim?
I'll
I
second.
have a second by Lee. Any questions, comments? Call roll, please.
Shane,
Yes.
Lee,
Yes.
Anthony,
Yes.
Homer,
Yes.
Tim.
Yes.
And finally, I know we need an executive session to discuss personnel.
Yes.
Anything else, Mr. Hanning?
Nope.
Okay.
Homer, if I can real quick, back on the busing.
Yeah, certainly.
Can we, with our fleet, how many we currently have and what your thoughts are on what we're getting rid of? Are we downsizing with the purchase of these 2 new buses?
I want to make sure that we have enough 70. The problem is we're keeping a handicap bus. It's a 72 passenger handicap bus, which you're pulling 3, 5, 6, 9. You're pulling about 15 passenger out of that bus already for being a handicap. So my goal is we're going to be down 172 passenger or 66 passenger bus. We're going to have the same amount of buses, but one's going to be a 30 passenger.
So we'll
You
keep
got-
10 in our fleet then at all times?
Yes, counting the 30 passenger. I just get a little leery of wanting, if we have issues, to use a 30 passenger on a 72 or 66 person route, which we all know our buses aren't always that full. But if you have one broke down and you have spring sports, I just think it's the best idea to keep what we get rid of 2 of the older buses. I've got quotes from Cardinal, or getting quotes for on 3 of them. We just got to decide which 2 buses of the 3 we're going to get rid of.
All right. And on the preschool, you're saying you want to use the 30 for a preschool route. Are you going to combine them all together, or you're still going to have 2 different?
We're still optioning that. I've been looking the last couple of weeks of how we can make improvements in the transportation side. It won't be this year. But when it comes to preschool, we just got to watch how long we want to keep kids on the bus, because we got a 74-mile square district. If you got one on County Road 18 and you got one on County Road 7, what that time span is. I just think, and this is going to be a new adventure for us too, with seatbelts on a school bus. If they're on the school bus, you have to use them. So that's going to be interesting.
All ages? I mean, so a high
Yeah.
school student
Yes.
has to be
If there's
buckled
seatbelt-
into a 3-point seatbelt on a school bus going to a sporting activity.
That's correct.
How are we gonna rule on this? I struggle seeing high school kids buckled in. Are we gonna penalize them or punish them if they don't wear a seatbelt, or?
If I'm the bus driver and they're on the school bus and it's got seatbelts on, they are required to wear a seatbelt. I don't see any, I'm not going to sit there and say that they don't have to. As a transportation administrator, I'm not going to do that.
Well, you're saying it's the law,
It is a law.
right? So, I mean, does it warrant us buying a 30-passenger bus with all these seatbelts on them?
If
I mean,
it's
are
safe-
our
if it-
kids gonna wear them?
If it's safety, I do not, in my personal opinion, it's the best thing to do. If we're talking safety, and who knows, maybe 5 years down the road, we'll be ahead of the game. I mean,
I'm
really
not
believe-
discrediting safety by no means. If we're gonna make a commitment and buy a bus fully outfitted with seatbelts and they have to be used, then we're gonna be using that bus all the time. If a coach, cries about it, or a teacher that all these kids gotta be buckled up and everybody's complaining, I don't wanna see us, nobody wants to take that bus. We're just gonna park it out in the lot and it's gonna sit there and we're gonna drive one of the oldest buses that we should be getting rid of, so we don't have to use the seatbelt
You will-
feature.
Hear me say, we won't drive that bus because of seatbelts. That's just my opinion. I mean, we just have to be diligent in what we do. I mean, if the state would come out in 5 years or 10 years, seatbelts are coming. I really believe in my heart, seatbelts are coming. Most transportation administrators do not want seatbelts in buses. And I think what we have is very safe and efficient. But do I think down the road seatbelts will be coming? Yes. I mean,
I just want to make sure we're investing in the right thing,
Right.
thinking back on it and talking.
I'm just saying, we put aides on a bus with 3-year-olds, or we somehow try to make it efficient and safe for a 3-year-old or a 4-year-old.
I want it safe for them. I mean, we've never had a bus with seat belts.
No, yeah,
We just agreed to buy a 72 passenger, I think, with 3 rows of seat belts
2 or 3. Yeah.
to test the waters. And now we're going to go ahead and commit to a full blown 30 passenger, fully loaded with seat belts, and it's going to work. And it has to work from what you're saying. If they're in there, it has to work. These kids have to be buckled in, all grade levels.
Yes. But you got to remember though, you're not putting 3 high school kids in a bus seat.
No, I'm not doubting that. It's just seeing these kids get in a school bus and buckle up.
It's just like our 9-passenger vans. Those got seat belts in them. They need to be used.
Okay.
And if they're not being used, then we're not doing it right. I'm just not going to back off on the safety side of it. That it's hard when you're driving a bus and you got 5 3-year-olds and 2 4-year-olds, and
I totally agree at preschool level, kindergarten level. I'm just looking at the high schoolers coming back from the baseball game at 9 o'clock at night or the basketball game where they each have 1 seat. What do they generally do? They're laying down on the seat. They're exhausted.
But there's rules for that. I mean, that's consistency, in my opinion.
Okay, I just want to make sure it's going to get used. Looking back at it, and I want to make sure the right questions are asked.
And I had a coach with this today, and I says we got to use them. I mean, that's what we get paid for, is for the safety of these kids, and in my opinion, we need to use them. Now, if we don't want to go that route yet, then we can remove the seat belts. But then we're back into the same situations.
How many of the school districts you communicate with have buses with seat belts?
Not very many. Like I said, very few schools or very few states in the country have seatbelt man where you have to. I think there's like 5 or 6 states. But there's getting to be more.
Anybody else got anything to say towards it, or?
Well, I don't know how you're going to get them all to. How will that work? I guess I'm going to ask the question. You brought it up. If you got 3 seat belts per seat, and we put high school kids on there, and you only put 2 high school students in a seat, how does that part work? Is that going to be comfortable or even safe?
Well, yeah, Homer, you're going to have 1 on the inside towards the window, 1 towards the aisle. The one in the center you don't use.
But how does it? I guess I'm trying to figure out how it can it pull that far to be able to attach.
Well,
I guess I'm not real sure.
Well, I think like a car seat, you're going to be confined to that single seat, and the middle's just going to be open. You ain't going to be able to split the seat.
But
half
it's
and
wide
half.
enough to allow for
It's
an
like
adult to sit in it. I'll put it that way.
Just like our 9-passenger minibus. That 9-passenger minibus has a 39-inch back seat, and it's got seat belts, 3-point harnesses in that minibus.
Okay.
Hey, I'm fine. If we're not ready to go that route, then that's fine.
No, I mean, I understand it from the little one's perspective, but if it causes a lot of headaches, in the older one, I guess it's a toss up on whether we should do it with the entire bus.
I mean, we can still purchase this next month, can't we? I mean, maybe we need to table it and we need to think on it some more and discuss it.
Just because we passed it doesn't mean we have to buy it.
Right.
You know,
I think.
That means we can buy it. That doesn't mean we have to, and we'll have to do more discussion, and we can always rescind it next month if that would make people feel better after we talk about it. So
Well, then let's.
these buses don't
recommend-
snap and show up in a second anyways. It
No,
takes a
they're
while.
4 months out.
Yeah, they're at least, I mean, so it takes time.
Let's go ahead and recommend then that we table it till next month. Give us an opportunity to kind of go over.
Well,
some of
we've
the
already
specifics.
approved it, so it's
Well, I
just a
realize
matter of
that,
we
but
tell
he-
them not to do
Right, I
it.
realize that but he's also saying just because we passed doesn't mean we have to buy it
Right,
now.
and that's what I'm saying.
So we can still do a little bit of research and make some modifications, I believe.
Yes, and we can rescind it next month. We can rescind it right now if that's what you want to do.
I think we rescind it right now because it clearly states everything's gonna have 3-point seat belts, and if
Okay.
we stay that way, then we'll repass it next month as is.
Right. Okay, we can rescind it. So
Okay, I need a motion to rescind the purchase of the 30-passenger microbus. Do I hear a motion?
I'll move.
A motion by Anthony. Second,
I'll second.
seconded by Lee. Call the roll.
Shane? Homer?
Yes.
Lee?
Yes.
Anthony?
Yes.
Tim?
Yes.
All right, we'll discuss this further next month. Good question, though. Is there anything else? Okay, at this time, I'll entertain a motion to go into executive session to discuss personnel with no additional action being anticipated after the session.
correct.
All right, do I hear a motion?
I'll move.
I have a motion by Anthony. Do I hear a second? Seconded by Shane. Call the roll, please.
Lee?
Yes.
Anthony?
Yes.
Homer?
Yes.
Tim?
Yes.
Shane?
At 8:24. We will go into executive session at this point with no further action. Thanks everyone for attending. We will have an adjournment afterwards, but this will be the last of the action. Thank you for watching,
Thank you, everyone.
and don't forget to vote in May. Anybody's got any questions, please contact Mr. Hannick, Mr. Smeltzer, myself, or any of the other board members, and we will try to get you the answer, or I shouldn't say try. We will get you the answers to the questions that you may have. Have a good evening now. Thank you.